Leipzig, Germany, 2010. Biologists led by Savante Pombo of the Max Planck Institute for Evolutionary Anthropology make a stunning announcement. They have determined that early humans not only coexisted on Earth with other more primitive hominids, but they also mated with them. Even more astonishing is their finding that another unidentified species may also be represented in human DNA. Until now, most people have been familiar with the typical DNA model of human evolution, in which there's a nicely defined progression from previous types of human or hominid life up to anatomically modern humans. That's not true anymore. We're seeing evidence that there could have been interbreeding with what the mainstream media calls a mystery species of humans. There's a considerable debate over Neanderthals and others, whether they had sexual contact with humans. But if there were primates already here who had evolved by Darwinian evolution, it's a small step to take the next leap and consider crossbreeding. Dr. John Hawks from the University of Wisconsin conducted a comprehensive analysis of human DNA going back many thousands of years. His findings were astonishing. There's been a 7% change when comparing the DNA from someone in 3000 BC to the DNA of someone alive today. Mapping the human genome, Dr. Hawks found that in the past 5,000 years, our DNA has evolved at a rate 100 times greater than any previous 5,000-year period. So, what happened in the last 5,000 years that altered the structure of human DNA by 7%? Is it possible that extraterrestrial humans interbred with us during this time, accounting for these monumental changes in the form of human DNA? Could it be that our ancestors are not only hominids who lived on Earth but also beings from beyond our world? Ancient astronaut theorists claim that evidence of this can be found in stories throughout history depicting humans mating with gods in various world cultures and mythologies. The idea of otherworldly beings, gods, supernatural beings, and demons having relationships with humans is widespread. The interpretation of these experiences depends on cultural and religious factors. By looking at these accounts from a modern perspective and eliminating suggested symbolism, these events could potentially be encounters with extraterrestrials. Many cultures have abundant and undeniable evidence of human and extraterrestrial interbreeding. Dismissing this as a conspiracy theory, myth, or fantasy is illogical. Pacific Palisades, California, July 17, 2015, 5 p.m. Police are alerted that a dead body is inside an abandoned SUV parked on a residential street. The badly decomposed corpse is sent to the coroner's office for identification. While foul play is not suspected, the case is bizarre as police investigate. His fiancée identifies the body as 60-year-old Jeffrey Allen Lash. Los Angeles police found over 1,200 guns, 7 tons of ammunition, numerous militarized vehicles, and $230,000 in cash inside his home. His fiancée reports that Lash had proclaimed to be an alien hybrid secretly working for the government. It's the weirdest story I've ever heard. His girlfriend, who seems normal and legitimate, claims he's an alien hybrid placed on this planet for a specific purpose. Nothing about his case adds up. When examining the body, the coroner's office couldn't find any fingerprints, even though fingerprints are the last skin tissue to decompose. Lash had no fingerprints. His fiancée believed he was an alien hybrid. We have to wonder who this guy was. Was he indeed a strange hybrid, as he claimed? Why did he possess all these weapons? Within the UFO research community, there's been controversy surrounding Lash's story. There's a suggestion that his father may have worked on the Roswell incident crash, implying that Jeffrey Lash was a scientist brought in to study the wreckage. This elevates the story to a more significant level, hinting at a potential infiltration of society. Some individuals claiming to be abducted by extraterrestrials also assert witnessing what they call alien-human hybrids. This could indicate an extraterrestrial program of manipulating human DNA for genetic alteration. This manipulation might have occurred for thousands of years, subtly changing us over time. Is it possible that aliens are already living among us, and our governments are aware of this? Could this result from years of extraterrestrial abductions? Our decisions as a species might be influencing these other civilizations, leading them to intervene on their behalf. They might not necessarily care whether we succeed or fail. If the goal isn't an invasion and takeover, then what is the alien agenda? There's a dichotomy between the idea of a hostile extraterrestrial invasion and extraterrestrials trying to assist us. This has been an ongoing theme for thousands of years. These abduction stories might be part of a larger plan that's unfolded for a long time. What we're experiencing now could be the next step, where we're learning that we are not alone and that extraterrestrial beings might return, as promised in ancient texts, on September 19, 1961. According to news accounts, Betty and Barney Hill were driving through New Hampshire late at night when a large flying saucer rapidly approached them and then hovered over their car. They saw strange figures through the windows of the craft mysteriously. The couple also reported complete memory loss for the 2 hours immediately following the encounter. No one knows to this day what Betty and Barney Hill saw. However, their case details reflect various versions of alien abduction. I say alien abduction because some of the information they discuss is the loss of time seeing beings that actually came out of this craft and associated and interacted with them. They weren't human, ultimately under hypnosis. They recall being brought out of the car and taken aboard the ship, that it was a legitimate abduction and that Betty pleaded with her captors, if will, not to harm her as she lay on this table. Experiments were done on her, like a needle being inserted into her stomach. Barney relates several skin samples and sperm being taken from him. The beings Betty and Barney Hill described fit the classic case of Gray. Now, there are variations in the size and dimensions of these beings, but they all seem to have the same characteristics: slim, skinny bodies, large oval heads, and large, oversized eyes. Hills were the first documented case of alien abduction in modern times, but it is not the last. Since the 1960s, there have been many more similar reports, including that of Kim Carlsberg, a commercial photographer who, in 1988, claimed to have been abducted by gray aliens in the middle of the night. We were living on the beach in Pacific Palisades, and I walked up to the window and saw a light on the horizon that I'd never seen before. You know, I'd lived on the beach my whole life, and it wasn't a boat or a star. I just watched this craft, and the next thing I knew, it shredded into the stars and disappeared, and I went to bed, as usual. I woke up in the middle of the night, and I was no longer in my bed. I was naked, and I was paralyzed. The beings I saw were about 3.5 feet tall. They were naked, they were off-white, and they were not gray. They had giant heads, huge wrap-around black eyes, and tiny little bodies. There are many stories of Gray abducting humans into their spaceships and even being inseminated with alien reproductive material, conceiving human-alien hybrid babies, and having those fetuses removed from their bodies and then grown on the alien spaceships. In some cases, people report going back onto the spacecraft and being able to see. These hybrid offspring I was being used for my DNA. They were creating mixed children from my eggs and someone else's sperm, combining it with their DNA and sperm. I would be implanted with an alien fetus, and they would leave the fetus in my body for a few months. They would bring me back again later, and then they would remove it. It wasn't charming, it was. It's terrifying. You can't have so many people saying that they've been abducted and not have some possibility of truth with that. I think it's happening. I don't know if it's a hybridization program for these ETs or whether they're trying to bring these hybrids back to this planet one day when the environment changes. Still, I believe something extraordinary is happening to these people who claim to be productive. Ancient astronaut theorist Giorgio Tsoukalos visits the Ventura Biocenter to examine one of Earth's most curious creatures, the bombardier beetle. This little bug is a marvel of evolution, or some say intelligent design. Tom is our insect wrangler who will help us set up a demonstration on one of the most incredible animals on Earth, the bombardier beetles. We all know that these multiple creatures seem to defy Darwinian evolution, and one animal that jumped out at me that I hadn't heard of before was this beetle right here. This beetle is fascinating from an evolutionary point of view. It's been used by many people to suggest that evolution doesn't work at all, and the reason is the enormous complexity of this thing. This animal is a chemical warrior. It's able to shoot out boiling streams of a toxic liquid with the same sort of mix as rocket fuel. I could shoot over 500 of these bursts per second. Can aliens place particular creatures on this planet so humans can learn from them and recreate their abilities?